Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are listening to this, whenever you are watching it. If you're live, watching back, listen to the podcast. Appreciate you all for making Blue and Gold a part of your day. It's Thursday, October 26th. I'm Mike Singer, and I'm with my buddy and coworker Kyle Kelly, and we are talking some Notre Dame football recruiting in this week's Irish recruiting update here on the Blue and Gold YouTube channel. Kyle, pretty busy week as always. I like to say if you're in our line of work, you really shouldn't have slow weeks. Like if you're not grinding, then you're not working hard enough. Like if you got to, there's enough work to do to make a busy week. So yeah, the week going well for you though, my friend.
Yeah, I think so. Like you said, it's pretty much always a busy week here covering Notre Dame football recruiting. There's always something going on, always something to do. So those guys keep us plenty busy, and it's probably good that way.
Always plenty busy. So we have recruiting weekend to talk about. We're going to talk about some Notre Dame's commits on the field this fall who have impressed, and we're also going to discuss some hey, who are the main 2025 names that you need to know right now for the Fighting Irish. We got Dorito in the chat. We got J Car in the chat. Hope you guys are well. Hope everyone is enjoying their Thursday morning watch live with us. Hit that thumbs up, of course. That helps us in what we're doing here at Blue and Gold, helps get the word out about our channel. And, of course, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any Notre Dame football and recruiting content. We're putting out daily videos. So please do not miss anything that we're posting. So I figure let's just dive into the recruiting weekend, Kyle. It's not like a big weekend in terms of, wow, look at all these big targets, like for Ohio State weekend and USC weekend. But there is a trio of pretty important visitors making their way to South Bend. And there could be a fourth in the 2025 class. So just log into blueandgold.com. We're not able to confirm it at this time, but there's another prospect who we believe. I'm not this is not some big teaser. This is not like, oh, we're flipping a 5-star, no, nothing like that. Just another 2025 prospect. We, can't report on this time, but not because it's a big secret, just haven't been able to confirm that yet. But anyways, so I figure let's just kind of go through these guys. So again, not a long list, but impactful for sure. Derek Meadows, who we got to see at Irish Invasion. You know what? I think I actually have their Irish Invasion film that I can pop up on the screen too. But Meadows from Las Vegas, Bishop Gorman, 6'5", 185 pounds, an outstanding prospect on 3. Recently had him as a 3-star, then bumped him up. Was it last week to the number 171 overall player, number 20 receiver in the country. And, you see 24/7 has him ranked pretty high. And, Rivals does as well. So, I mean, he's, in my opinion, he's the top 100 player, and he's just a pretty impressive talent overall. So now for folks watching on YouTube, this is Irish Invasion clips, June 4th, 2023. So you can just see, this is a large human being, the wingspan, just his overall stature and build, he was impressive. Just talking to different sources, remember that time, people were very, very impressed with Derek Meadows. The speed, the length, just everything was impressive about him. I know you're watching more of the defense that day, Kyle, but did you have anything you wanted to share on Derek Meadows, thoughts on this recruitment or his performance that day?
I don't know how this guy can play wide receiver at 6'7". Maybe he can. He's an incredible athlete, but just off the top of my head, I don't really know any wide receivers that are that tall. I feel like those guys usually transition to tight end. I mean, we're kind of just really being nitpicky when it comes to positions sometimes, because there are guys in the NFL that play tight end and they play it like wide receiver, like Kyle Pitts and some of those guys. So maybe Derek Meadows is one of those guys. But this dude's a stud. He's a terrific pass catcher. I don't know why he doesn't really get the ball more in the Bishop Gorman offense. I know. What's that?
Lots of blowouts.
Yeah, that's true. That's part of the reason. But I just know early in the year he wasn't really getting a lot of receptions. Haven't really been able to follow him a whole lot since then. But another super intriguing target for Chancey Stuckey and those wide receivers. And I think that the report on Meadows coming out of the Irish Invasion camp was pretty strong with Notre Dame's positioning. I think anytime a prospect of that caliber comes and camps at Notre Dame without an offer and earns an offer, I think that always bodes well for Notre Dame. And I think another good visit this weekend could set up Notre Dame in pretty good position for Meadows.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, you said 6'7". He's listed at 6'5". Do you think he's more 6'7"?
I don't know why I had 6'7" in my mind. I was checking out his ESPN profile because we have to get that updated on 3, and they have him as 6'7". I do remember 6'7" being the measurable for a while, so maybe on 3 was able to get a more true measurement, 6'5". I mean, 6'7" is pretty tall guys, so I feel like 6'5" is more realistic, and if that's the case, that guy can certainly play wide receiver.
Yeah, you're right. We do need to get his On3 page updated. Where do I need to send this? I'm just gonna do it now before I forget to get the people to. Can we get his IC page? I want to do this now before I forget. So yeah, that's Derek Meadows, 4-star pass catcher from Las Vegas Bishop Gorman. Now, in the clips that we just showed at the very end there, Meadows was matched up against a number 8, who was Ivan Taylor, who played corner that day. Could also be a really good safety at the next level. So Meadows is the number 103 overall player in the country per the industry ranking, and here's number 102, Ivan Taylor, from the Orlando area. Man, this kid was very impressive as well. And we'll pop on his film from that day. So Ivan Taylor, the son of former Pittsburgh Steelers defensive back Ike Taylor, and yeah, a really good camp performance, and a player that I believe is trending towards Notre Dame, just like I believe with Meadows. Notre Dame, Florida State among the schools after Taylor, Alabama, Penn State, just a few of his offers. Yeah, I like Notre Dame here. What do you think, Kyle?
Yeah, really interesting recruitment. Don't really see guys from Florida like this kind of go up to Notre Dame and I guess enroll there, commit, and everything like that. I mean, Notre Dame's trending really well in Florida in the 2025 cycle with Justin Thurman, who they have committed from Tampa Jesuit, Davian Dixon from Miami Palmetto. Both those guys have been committed to Notre Dame for several months, more so Dixon since April. But kind of my case being like, Thurman and Dixon aren't like top 100, top 150 guys from the state of Florida, whereas Ivan Taylor is. Also has an NFL pedigree with his dad being the father of Ike Taylor, his dad being Ike Taylor, the former Pittsburgh Steelers cornerback. So that's like a guy I feel like Notre Dame hasn't really gotten to pass often. They're doing extremely well with those NFL legacies in the 24 and 25 cycles. I wrote about another 25 NFL legacy this morning on Blue and Gold. That's going to be an interesting recruit on campus. But yeah, Ivan Taylor, like this would be another super welcome sign in the defensive back room for Notre Dame if they can continue to pick up some momentum with him. Notre Dame hasn't really particularly recruited safety well from a ranking standpoint over the last few cycles. I know Notre Dame really likes what they have in those guys, but just kind of looking at how they stack up against other safety prospects across the country, a little bit lower on the rankings compared to other guys. But the guys are looking at this cycle like the Ivan Taylors, Jadon Blairs. I know Ethan Long doesn't really have a high ranking yet, but I think he's a guy that's going to move up in the rankings too. Yeah, this is a welcome sign for Notre Dame. He's to get him up on campus. I think this will be visit number 3 since June. So Yeah, that's a super big deal to continue moving well with Notre Dame, and I think you have a prediction in for him,
Yeah,
Mike. So
I do. And for folks watching on YouTube, this is him against Micah Gilbert, Notre Dame's 2024 receiver commit, who I'm pretty excited about. So yeah, he's a good player, for sure. So yeah, that's Ivan Taylor, Winter Garden, Florida, West Orange High School. Now, as of Thursday morning, we're not 100% sure if Damen Shanklin's visiting from Indy Warren Central. But yeah, just briefly, Kyle, like if he visits, that'd be a pretty good sign. I mean, twice in a month. Like his first visits to South Bend was for the USC game, and then he gets to campus 2 weeks later. That sounds pretty good. 4-star edge prospect, 6'5", 210 pounds, Damen Shanklin. Yeah, he's considered a Notre Dame lean early on. I think that's pretty fair right now. As we've talked about before, Shanklin really likes USC. We know he's very interested in Ohio State. The Buckeyes are interested in him as well, but haven't extended an offer. Yeah, Kyle. I mean, just what are you hearing right now about the potential of him visiting, and just quick thoughts on his recruitment before we move on?
yeah, when I talked to Damian Shanklin after the USC game, he kind of got some special treatment from the Notre Dame staff. They really put on a great show for him. I guess they did a great job hosting him on campus. First ever visit to Notre Dame, even though he's from Indianapolis, Warren Central, just a short 2-hour drive up north to South Bend. And when I talked to him after his visit, he said he wanted to come back to Notre Dame this season. So Marcus Freeman out Washington were at his school last week. I got to imagine that was pretty exciting for Shanklin and maybe gave him a little bit more urgency to get back to campus this season. And Notre Dame has him on the list for this weekend. I talked to Shanklin. He isn't 100% certain he's going to go, but he's trying to make it happen. And usually when you see like 2 visits back to back like this, it's a super good sign for Notre Dame, and maybe a potential commitment in the works. I don't get that sense with Shanklin. I think he's just trying to learn more about Notre Dame, just because this will be visit number 2, both game day visits. It's a short drive up there. I think Notre Dame is the leader for him. I think with a second visit, they can really solidify itself as the front runner in his recruitment. But this isn't a guy I'm not necessarily putting on commit watch, even though anything can happen.
Yeah, we're going to talk about kind of some commit watch a little bit later in the show. Going back to Meadows. Hey, I already got the ESPN ranking added, Kyle, during the live show. How about that? So he did drop down a couple spots in the industry ranking because ESPN ranked him a little bit lower. So if you're ever like, man, these rankings, man, they'll just drop kids in a heartbeat. Well, I mean, we added ESPN's ranking, and that dropped them a couple spots in the industry ranking. Anyways, so I just wanted to mention real quick, there's a handful of prospects, underclassmen who, have some P5 offers, not from Notre Dame just yet. But it's always good for, these kids to get a Notre Dame experience in, so that when Notre Dame maybe does offer, the coaching staff doesn't have to say, hey guys, this is Notre Dame, right? They've already been there because you've shown interest in them when they were freshmen and sophomores. So here's a sophomore quarterback on campus, Nathan Bernhard, 6'5", 220 pounds, from Ashland, Ohio. Has offers from Penn State, Michigan State, Louisville, Duke, Iowa State. He's already got 4-star status per 24/7 in Rivals. And then Jameson Purcell from Park Ridge, Illinois, Maine South, just a freshman in high school. And Ole Miss, Auburn, USF, UAB offers already for him, 6'2", 270 pounds. So a couple notable quarterbacks. Notre Dame obviously has their 2024 and 25 quarterbacks committed in Carr and Knight, respectively. And Notre Dame getting ahead of the game in 2026 and 2027. Kyle, why don't you tell the people, tell the people what time it is?
Yeah, it's hopefully it's time to continue winning some money.
Yes, it's time for Prize Picks, folks. And I got to get back on a little bit of a winning streak. So we're going to welcome you to the sponsor for today's show, and that's Prize Picks. It's a fun app. So for these entries, you can pick a minimum of 2 players, and if they're going to go more or less than their projection, you can go up to 6 players per entry. You go up to 6, you can win up to 25 times your money on that entry. So it gets even better when you use the promo code BGI. Write it down on your hand. It's 3 letters, BGI. You'll receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100. So if you deposit $50, Prize Picks will give you $50. If you deposit 100, they'll give you 100. Download the app or go to prizepicks.com, but make sure you use that promo code BGI. Different sports, that you can do entries on: NBA, NFL, PGA, college sports, NASCAR, cricket, soccer, anything. And they also do fun weekly promotions like Taco Tuesday, where someone's projection might be more or less 50 yards. Taco Tuesday will bring it down to 25 yards, something, stuff like that. They also have Flex Friday, which I've talked about before, where I think it's a $20 flex entry. If you don't hit it, they give you that money back in in what's it called, bonus money. I don't know, I can't think of the word, but anyways, let's talk about entries for this week. We're just gonna talk about how I'm feeling. Is it crazy to like Zach Wilson more than 195.5 yards? My favorite, and some of the picks I've had the most success with, is quarterbacks less, or when their more or less projection is under 200 yards. So I like Zach Wilson here. And he's not like, his passing yardage, 186, 199, 245 in his last 3 games. Like, I like 195 against a Giants team that's not very good. And then I also like rush touchdowns. Give me Jalen Hurts to have a rushing touchdown in his 4th straight game. That's my 2. These are the kind of the entries that I have the most success with. Just a simple more and a simple more on a couple quarterbacks. I say let's throw $20 on it and win a net of 40. Do you like this, Kyle?
I do. The Giants don't have Julian Love in that secondary anymore, and I think that letting the former Notre Damer walk in free agency has kind of hurt him. And Jalen Hurts, I will say, I think you've kind of gotten a little bit of sense of it, but I've turned into a big research guy with the fantasy and NFL betting stuff. And one metric that I use is every week ESPN puts like an expected touchdown formula out, and Jalen Hurts is always like in the top 10 of that, just because of how successful the Eagles are, like within a 5-yard line, that brotherly shove and everything like that. So I like both those picks.
Yeah. We could go with him. I've liked the less than 1.5. This is about every week. Jalen Hurts 1. I have been placing entries with Jalen Hurts about every week, and I usually do pretty well with him. I like the less than 1.5, but we're gonna stay away from that. We're gonna go him scoring, and why I like the less than 1.5 is because he scores so many rushing touchdowns. But I think that's what we're gonna roll with. It's a little risky, like it's boom or bust with the more or less 0.5.
Yeah.
Touchdowns, but we're rolling with that, and there you go. And folks, I will note, here's the Notre Dame more or less. Audric Estime 95.5 yards. He hasn't hit that since Central Michigan game. I would like the less there. Chris Tyree is an interesting one. 28.5 receiving yards, more or less. Mitchell Evans, 54.5. I think his was like 80 or something versus USC, and he had 13 receiving yards. We're not going to talk about that. Sam Hartman, 247. Yeah, so that's his more or less on passing yards. So that's going to wrap up talking about Prize Picks. Remember, folks, first-time users that deposit and use promo code BGI will receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100. Tune in next Thursday. No, if I did well, we'll talk about it. If not, we won't. And please play responsibly, and it's really for fun. So that's what I do here. Just it's just good entertainment for me, to, especially on like those Monday night games, Sunday night games. just to have a little bit more skin in the game, pretty much. So thank you, Prize Picks, for sponsoring today's show. So we're going to move into talking about some 2025 recruiting. Notre Dame currently has, 5 commits in that class? That's all right.
7. They're up to 7 now.
7 already.
With the James Flanagan commitment.
Yeah, you're right. 7 commits for the Fighting Irish. Deuce Knight, James Flanagan, CJ May, Thurman, Dixon, Reef, and Anderson. Number 6 class in the country. Stop the count. We're at 6. Stop the count. How about Notre Dame about to go 20-something straight years of finishing the number 1 independent school in the country in the recruiting rankings? Hang the banner. Notre Dame is killing it. Number 1. Do you remember that Penn State graphic from a couple years ago where they're like, we're number 1 in the country in this, except for years 1970 to 1970. Do you remember that graphic?
I do. I don't remember the context behind it, but I definitely remember.
It was something like that where it was like, we are the best at this, except for the times we're not. Put up the graphic, Notre Dame. Oh my gosh, could you imagine if we had that graphic done? It was like, Notre Dame has the number 1 recruiting class, 23 straight years, asterisk, among independent schools. Oh my God. We would get that. That would be so freaking funny. People would get so pissed, but that would be so funny. Okay, let's get back on track. So when I was texting Kyle last night, I was like, hey, what do you want to talk about in the show tomorrow? It was like, let's just kind of like talk about some of your predictions in the 2025 class that I have logged. Do you just kind of want to go quick hitters through these? I'll just read the names, Kyle, and you kind of tell me, do you like the pick or do you not like the pick? And you just say like it, don't like it, and you can tell me why. There are several here that we're going to talk about. So we don't have time to really go in depth on all of them, but Kyle, we'll just do it. Maddie Augustine's first up here. Log this prediction August 23rd. Big offensive tackle from the Northeast. Do you like it or do you not like it?
I like it a lot. I might be pretty close to following you with that prediction. If there was a guy that maybe I had to say I'd feel most confident in out of this group, it'd probably be Maddie Augustine. Ended up at Notre Dame.
Owen Streebig. How about both these guys? 6'7". Owen Streebig. Notre Dame signed Brian B. Dash. I believe it was in the 2002 class. He was a lineman from Wisconsin. It took Notre Dame 20 years to sign their next player from Wisconsin, and that was Billy Strouth in the 2022 cycle. How about Notre Dame could land 2 guys in the 2025 class alone? You already got James Flanagan committed. He's from Green Bay, and Owen Streebig is also from the Hoosier State. So I like Notre Dame for Streebig. Log that prediction a minute before the Augustine one. Do you like this one or do you not like this one? Owen Streebig to Notre Dame.
Yeah, I like this one as well, Mike. I think we've kind of harped on this show for a while that predominantly Notre Dame USC battle, Miami, Florida State, Michigan also in this race, Wisconsin still trying to get involved and stay involved in this recruitment. But Rudolph was pretty much the first offensive line coach that Owen Streebig met all the way back, I think, in 8th grade when Rudolph was at Wisconsin. So that relationship has just gone on for years, and Streebig has continued to fall in love with Notre Dame, trying to be patient with his process. But when that time comes, I just, like you say, Mike, follow the visits. And he's already been to campus twice this season, was at campus twice over the summer, once in the spring as well, and certainly trending toward Notre Dame at this point.
Yeah. Oh God, did I say Hoosier State? I meant Badger State. Thank you, Dorito, for mentioning that. Yes. Hoosier State's Indiana, Badger State, Wisconsin. I got the Big Ten on my mind. I apologize, guys. I also just got a message on Twitter. Guy saying first timer heading to Buc-ee's tomorrow with the family. What are some must-have items? You ever been to a Buc-ee's, Kyle? So I was responding to that guy too. You ever been to a Buc-ee's?
No. They're predominantly in the South, I know, and I don't really spend a whole lot of time down there. So,
yeah, it's predominantly a Texas thing, and now we got 2 in Georgia. I think there's 1 in Florida, a couple in Alabama. So Yeah, maybe they'll make their way up to the Midwest. Bucky's is going to take over. It's a life-changing experience, Jay Carr says. What's up, my friend? Good to see you. Ethan Long, safety from the Northeast, same high school as Maddie Augustine in Connecticut, 6'2", 185 pounds. Log this prediction August 22nd. A little bit of Michigan buzz there for a minute. I like Notre Dame here. It's where I've got my prediction log. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is another guy like Streebig. He's just trying to be patient with the process. Well, I guess throw Augustine and in that kind of group as well. But like Maddie Augustine and Ethan Long are two guys that I kind of have in the back of my mind that if they both come to Notre Dame in January for those junior day visits, I think that bodes super well for Notre Dame. I think they get them locked up in the class pretty quickly after that. So he's going to make visits, I think, to Michigan State and Michigan in back-to-back days, the end of November. And pretty much after that, it's going to be decision mode for Ethan Long.
Michigan State's not a program I'd personally visit right now.
They're getting a lot of recruits to visit. I'm actually super impressed. Like Damen Shanklin went up there and visited without an offer. He left with an offer. Another guy that Notre Dame had on campus earlier this year, Eugene Hilton. He didn't even have Michigan State in his top 6. I know he's a 2025 recruit, son of T.Y. Hilton. Top schools lists don't really mean a whole lot at this juncture, but still, he went up to Michigan State. So give a lot of credit to that recruiting staff, man. They're doing a heck of a job right now.
Yeah, the state of Michigan is something right now with their football programs. And I'm not talking about Eastern Michigan or Central Michigan. You guys know what I'm talking about. Oh, man. Had a fun time talking on our Wednesday show with Darren Pritchett about, the Wolverines. Daniel Anderson, your boy was right on that one. Mark Zachary, interesting one. Indy Ben Davis, Notre Dame, Ohio State seem to be the top schools to watch. When I logged the prediction, I was like, listen, I'll admit, I'm not feeling overly confident. It was more of a projection than, all of these are projections, but like more of a projection than like we could see the roadmap, for like how we think Owen Streebig or Augustine could commit to Notre Dame in the coming months. Zachary may be a little bit farther out. And I will note for folks watching on YouTube, I might get on a mini rant here. It says 60. Do you guys see that on the right side of the screen? 60. So we can log confidence percentages from increments from and 5, 0, 5, 10, 15 up to 100. How, I don't understand, the confidence levels. I don't know, what to do. Do I feel 100% confident? That feels like I'm spoiling something if I know this kid's a silent commitment he's announcing tomorrow. What am I going to put in a prediction at 0% or 15%? Then why the hell are you doing a prediction? So I just kind of log 60 at standard. Yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Kyle. I don't know what you do for your percentages, but it's just like the confidence thing. Are you predicting the kid to the school or not? It just feels like I was wrong on this prediction, but I only had a confidence level of 30%. So don't really get upset with me. That's why I just go 60% pretty much across the board. If you ever see me with anything different, there's a reason. If I change it from 60 to 0%, it's because I need to change this prediction to a different school. I just don't know where yet. Something like that. But Kyle, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think 60 is pretty much the good number. I do like the confidence level just because it kind of shows the way that projection is heading. I know sometimes when guys start to trend towards another school, you can adjust the percentages a little bit. But I will say there are probably at least 12 guys right now, probably more in 25 that I think are Notre Dame is leading for or are one of the top teams. And I could probably put prediction ins for all those guys with 10 to 15 confidence level. And that just would be kind of pointless. So.
But then, yeah, like you said, if they're starting to trend to other schools, maybe then you change the percentage. But then you would want to change the pick altogether, and in some of those cases. So, hey, Jay Castell, you rock, brother. Thank you for the kind words. Anyways, did we even touch on Mark Zachary? No, we haven't yet. So yeah, Mark Zachary, who I started to talk about, then we got off track. Thoughts on this recruitment? I don't think we talked about him, did we? I'll
Yeah,
move.
I had always had in the back of my mind with Mark Zachary, Ohio State fan growing up from Indianapolis, Buckeyes would be the team to beat. But after they landed a cornerback commitment from Blake Woodby, a guy that Notre Dame offered from St. Francis Academy in Baltimore, they're also trending for a 5-star Devin Sanchez out of Texas. Also in a good position with Dorian Brew, a 5-star from Texas that Notre Dame thought they were going to get at one time when he lived in Ohio. Um, those are three cornerbacks that I think Ohio State is really prioritizing in this cycle. And I think Mark Zachary has always been a top of the board guy for Notre Dame. So he loves Notre Dame. I think this is always has been and will be a Notre Dame Ohio State battle. But just based off what I'm seeing from Ohio State's cornerbacks board is I think Mark Zachary is going to keep on trending toward Notre Dame.
Okay, so that's Mark Zachary. Before we move on, I got a question to ask you, Kyle. Are you a displaced corporate executive, or are you wanting to put your career in your own hands? I hope you're not, because I like where your career is at right now. But Kyle, if you were wanting to diversify your portfolio, well, Kyle, I would tell you to give Andy Ludick help because I would tell you to give him a call because Andy can help you. He's a huge college sports fan, and he's a franchise veteran, having owned multiple franchises and businesses. Using Andy's expertise, he's going to help you find your American dream through a very thorough and consultation and evaluation process. Give my boy Andy a call. Put your life and career in your own hands. Just not you, Kyle, because I like where your career is at right now. But Kyle, if you're really wanting to diversify and you're wanting to start a franchise, if you're going to do it, Kyle, you're going to give Andy Ludick a call. 404-973-9901. Check it out, myperfectfranchise.net. Find your perfect franchise with Andy Ludick at myperfectfranchise.net. Thank you for the sponsorship, My Perfect Franchise, and Prize Picks for today's show. From Jay, third blue and gold video I'm watching tonight. Man, you're really I lean into in the intros of these shows. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Because I don't know where these people are watching. It could be across the world. So Jay says he's watching it tonight. I'm a print subscriber. Huh, how about that? We love the print subscribers because we still got that print business. I don't have a magazine handy, but I have a whole bin in my garage. You got one handy? So y'all give Mike more money. Oh, how about that one? The Sam Hartman right at home. I believe you're muted, Kyle. Yes, that's after the Navy game. I pushed back against that cover title, but that wasn't my favorite. I don't remember what I liked better, but yeah, we appreciate the print subscribers for sure. Let's go back to the kind of the prediction talk. Ivan Taylor, who we talked about earlier in the show, visiting Notre Dame this weekend. I like Notre Dame here. When Notre Dame lands Florida kids, it's usually from some private Catholic school or something. But hey, Notre Dame's Notre Dame, man. It can land, Orlando public school kid as well. And Ivan Taylor is a Notre Dame fit in my humble opinion. So, yeah, thoughts on Ivan Taylor, safety or corner at the next level?
This is probably the pick I feel least confident in. I just like a little behind the scenes with.
I'm sorry, Kyle. Can you start that over?
Do you have me, Mike? How we doing with the connection?
I think I have you. I've been doing streams on YouTube for years now, and something just happened I've never seen before. So can you just start over? My screen just like flashed. I don't know what happened. Can you go again?
No doubt. Yeah, Ivan Taylor is probably the guy I feel least confident in of the group.
Okay.
Just kind of giving our subscribers, I guess, and our viewers a little bit of background how you and I approach recruiting. I think it just kind of happens naturally where there's guys we talk to, or like you talk to a little bit more and I talk to a little bit more. Ivan Taylor is one of your guys in your neck of the woods, so I kind of let you handle that recruitment. So I'm not as in tune with this one, but just from kind of looking at it, 60-foot view or whatever you want to say, Florida, kid from Florida with Florida State. I think Miami's involved. Florida's involved. I think that's a tough pull for Notre Dame, but like I kind of mentioned earlier, he went up and camped at Notre Dame without an offer, earned it, came back for the grill and chill in July, and now he's going to be here at a game day.
It's a good sign.
That usually is a very good sign for Notre Dame. So if they can keep trending in that direction, I think they can get him.
Yeah, and he actually just texted me back a few minutes ago, so I'll be talking to him after his visit. So we'll have that coverage of blue and gold. James Flanagan ended up at Notre Dame, so a few more. Jerome Bettis,
Hate it.
Jerome Bettis. Yeah, hate that pick. He's
Hate it.
good
Put
joke.
that confidence at 90.
Yeah, put the confidence up. Yeah, we have a hard time seeing Jerome Bettis going anywhere. I don't think we need to spend much more time on that. Atlanta Woodyard, 6'3", 185-pound receiver, pretty talented player, awesome young man. Jerome Bettis Jr. we like to Notre Dame. Justin Thurman already committed to Notre Dame. Log to prediction. So 3 more. Derek Meadows, who we talked about earlier in the show. I've liked where Notre Dame is. I haven't heard a ton of him, like on him recently. It's just been kind of waiting for this visit, but I mean, I honestly wouldn't be shocked if like any of these key, maybe not Shanklin, but like if Meadows committed after this weekend, I wouldn't be surprised. If Taylor did, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, Meadows, I definitely consider a Notre Dame lean.
Yeah, another guy that you've talked to a little bit more than me, but just seems like Notre Dame's been the front runner ever since that visit in June. And this visit, I think, can go a long way because Derek Meadows, even though he's a 4-star, top 100 player, basically, I know the On3 industry ranking shifted a little bit after we entered ESPN in the fold, but I think there's going to be a lot more schools coming after him. So I'll be curious to see how much longer Notre Dame will continue to be on top for him, and I guess how much longer he'll want to go see his recruitment out. I think this is a guy that might probably just be smart, just trying to see who else could get involved because he doesn't really have a lot of marquee offers yet. But I think Notre Dame can definitely submit itself as the number 1 pole position team after this weekend, and after that, who knows what happens. Notre Dame got Ronnie Stanley out of Bishop Gorman, and Derek Meadows could certainly be the next.
I do have Cooper Perry predicted to Notre Dame. I don't like that one as much now, to be completely honest with you. I just don't know where that recruitment's trending. I don't have a good feel on that one anymore. I logged the prediction back in May. Pretty soon after, I want to say he visited in March or so. So yeah, about a few weeks after. But I don't love the pick as much. I don't know if you have anything to add there on Cooper Perry, but then another Arizona kid, Cree Thomas. He was on campus for the USC game, 2025 corner. Same high school as Ben Morrison. So, excuse me, I love where Notre Dame's at for Cree Thomas, and I'm unsure. I don't love the Cooper Perry pick, but we'll kind of see how that one shakes out. But thoughts on those two guys, Kyle?
Yeah, I feel much more confident about Cree Thomas at this point in their recruitments and where Notre Dame stands with both guys. I think Cree Thomas, like you mentioned, same high school as Benjamin Morrison. I mean, if you're Cree Thomas, how could you not want to go to Notre Dame? So I think that's a good sign for the Irish.
Yeah, might be part of Notre Dame's recruiting pitch. Why would you not want to go to Notre Dame? So a couple more items before we wrap up today's show. You do a really good job, Kyle, with the commit tracker article that you post early each week. I know it's a bear of an article to put together, so better you than me, to write that beast. But guys that have just kind of impressed you, just whether it's statistically, just kind of watching the film, like, hey, they are ranked this, but they really seem to be outshining that ranking. Give me a couple guys like who of Notre Dame's 24 and 25 commits, either class, like who you've really liked.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to simply base this off of their statistics this season just because that's what I've really been writing about. And right away, the first guy that comes to mind is Bodie Cahoon. I highlight him pretty much every week because he just absolutely does incredible every week. There's no other way to put it. Last couple weeks, he's had about 20 tackles per game. Now, those are total tackles, which include assisted tackles. And I know some schools with the way they, chart the statistics are maybe a little bit more generous than others. But still, I mean, his stats, even the solo stats, have been really impressive this year. for the season, Bodie Cahoon, and I think it's 9 games, has 8 games, sorry, 146 tackles. 81 of them are solo. So that's about 10 solo tackles a game. That's pretty impressive. 19 tackles for loss, so about two tackles for loss per game. 2.5 probably. 5 sacks and a couple other, pass breakup, fumble recovery, block punt. So that's one guy that's just, I think, really outperformed his ranking. I think we've talked about plenty of times before, was a lacrosse recruit for the longest time, committed to Ohio State.
Yeah.
And really hasn't like focused on football for a long time. I think last year was the first year he really took football seriously, and that was when the college football team started to give him a look, and obviously ended up at Notre Dame. So he's the number one guy on the list. I think Logan Saldate has been terrific this year. 8 games, 41 catches, 722 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Just what an amazing find by Chancey Stuckey, Director of Recruiting Chad Bowden, Director of High School Scouting Dre Brown, that entire Notre Dame staff that discovered Saldate, who's committed to Oregon State at the time. He is going to add a dimension to the Notre Dame offense I don't think they have. He's pretty true slot receiver. I mean, Logan Saldate kind of has the skill set of Jordan Faison a little bit, like one of those super quick slot guys, and can go the distance on the field. And I love that find for Notre Dame. And just kind of going through a couple other guys. Logan Thomas is terrific year after transferring from Katy Patel in Texas up to Lakewood St. Edward in Ohio, one of the top schools in the Midwest. They have won state championships the last 2 years, and since making up to St. Edward, just really made his mark on that program. For the season, 98 tackles, 22 solo, 12.5 tackles for loss, 7.5 sacks, 21 quarterback hurries, and a lot of other stats as well in 10 games. A lot of Keon Keeley traits there with Logan Thomas. I know that it's pretty easy to compare those two.
Yeah.
But make no mistake, Logan Thomas is an excellent prospect that is really going to have a chance to see some playing time as a Viper if he can add that weight, just because Notre Dame does not have any Logan Thomases on their roster.
Yeah. I think of all of the guys in the class, I would say Logan Thomas is the one that just does not get enough recognition, because I feel like people are not overly fired up about the defensive line class as they should, and I think Logan Thomas is
That's
probably
a mistake if that's the case, because the next guy I was going to highlight, and I know you saw him earlier this year, is Bryce Young.
Yeah, he's a freak.
Yeah, ESPN updated their rankings, I think, last week. He made a huge jump, 24/7 a couple weeks ago. He made a huge jump in those rankings, and then On3 was actually the first one to really say, "Hey, we got to move this guy up the board." And yeah, he's looks like almost a top 100 recruit. I can't really see those numbers incredibly well, but either way, through 9 games, 70 tackles, 38 solo, a dozen tackles for loss, 10 sacks, 10 quarterback hurries, forced fumbles, recoveries, blocked field goals, punts. Even had a catch for 5 yards last week. And just one more guy I got a spotlight with the same last name, Kedron Young. Not the no relation, at least to our knowledge, but he is, I think, about 25 yards away from becoming Lufkin High School's all-time leading rusher. He's had a terrific senior season, and his the rankings have reflected that as well. He's moved up pretty much by every service. Through 8 games, 194 carries, 1,169 yards, and 11 touchdowns. I think he's averaging close to 6 yards per carry. So that is some pretty outstanding numbers. I think those 4 guys I mentioned pretty much all have the
I think it was 5.
To what's that?
I asked for 2 and you gave me 5. You're just loving these players.
I mean, there can't be 2 just with the way these guys have played this year. So I think all those guys, there's always this hypothetical award that I have is Notre Dame's MVP of high school MVP in terms of commits. I think all those guys are in the
Yeah, I do the superlatives. I do this every single year I've ever worked in this industry. I always do a class superlatives for the school I cover. I don't know if there's a clear MVP this year. Like, who would I give that MVP to? Who did I do in 23?
I'm trying to remember because I think I did something
I think it's
similar.
probably Drake. Probably did Drake Bowen. But yeah, Carr would probably be the favorite. Anyway, let's figure that out in a couple months from now. Ed's $2 super chat. Thank you. He says, any worries about the Pitt game? Not for me personally, but they did beat Louisville. So maybe, but I like Notre Dame at home there. And also he asks, what are beaver nuggets? So I don't know how to describe this snack, but it's just a little crunchy ball of unhealthy, a little nugget. It's fantastic. It's I really don't know how to describe it. But it is fantastic. So if you ever go to Bucky's, you gotta at least grab a bag of beaver nuggets and try it out for yourself. But it's not good for you. Yeah. So yeah, I think Notre Dame should handle Pitt pretty well. 15-point win, 10-point win, something like that. Yeah, I like Notre Dame there. Um, so just to wrap up, where we went last week was interesting because Notre Dame had its bye week, and when for bye week travel, I usually just kind of cross my fingers and hope that the Notre Dame staff is somewhere that I can also be at. And luckily, Marcus Freeman was about an hour from me, and so I got to go see him, or go see Anthony Knapp, and Marcus Freeman and Joe Rudolph were on the sideline. So I got to kind of write an article with Kyle on our observations of the Notre Dame coaches and what that whole, like, paint a picture kind of deal on what that looks like. So on last Thursday, Anthony Knapp was seen by Marcus Freeman and Joe Rudolph, and then the next day they're traveling all over, and then they went to CJ Carr. And I think they might have stayed for a little bit of Carr's first quarter or so, and then Marcus Freeman got on the jet and went over to Lakewood, Ohio, for Logan Thomas's game. And I know you were, and he was with Al Washington, excuse me. And I know you were at that game. So yeah, pretty cool. Couple days of coverage with Freeman being in both of our necks of the wood, Kyle. Necks of the woods. Neck of the woods. I can't speak
In
this
the
morning,
area.
Kyle. Yeah, in our area.
Yeah, so actually Logan Thomas played on the road at Akron Archbishop Hoban. So that was even a farther trip, not by much, but
Oh yeah, that's right.
still extra 5-10 minutes in the jet. They did make it for like the final few minutes in the fourth quarter where St. Ed's drove down the field and scored the game-winning touchdown. So those guys were extremely ecstatic on the sideline to see Notre Dame win, and they got the heck out of there before it was a complete downpour, and your boy here got absolutely drenched. Luckily, I got to talk to Logan Thomas in the locker room, so I was able to stay a little bit dry. Logan's a great kid. I've really enjoyed covering him. But yes, Friday night was not the most exciting game to cover from a weather standpoint, but we made it through. My jacket's probably still wet. My camera bags are probably still a little damp. So, yeah, glad to see that Marcus Freeman out of Washington can make that trip. I mean, just how incredible to see those guys. I mean, Marcus Freeman specifically go from Georgia, Chicago, that Friday morning, stop in Fort Wayne, go to Saline, Michigan, then end up in Akron.
Yeah.
And his wife ran a marathon on Saturday morning and was there back in the South Bend area for that. So
That's awesome.
don't know how that guy sleeps.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like when, like Freeman at the game, it's like he's got a crowd around him. It's like people just don't leave aside, and then they want to introduce you to this person and this person. I'm like, this poor guy just has to be on all of. I mean, poor guy's making millions. I mean, but still, he's a human being, right? More money, more problems, and it's just like nonstop people. I can't do this. I'm a homebody, and that it was just interesting for me to kind of watch that. Be like, man, this guy like has to hear and talk to all people just nonstop. But so yeah, where we are going this Friday will be revealed this week, or it'll be revealed tomorrow. Not gonna talk about that yet. It's not that it's a surprise, but I don't know. Maybe I just don't want to. So we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it tomorrow at
Let's say
blueandgold.com.
this. We're gonna do something unique. That's why we want to wait
I mean,
until.
it's unique for us. It's something that we haven't done before at Blue and Gold, and at least not in a long time. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, lock into blueandgold.com for more on that, and I'll look at the show notes, Kyle. I think we covered everything. So yeah, great show today. Notre Dame, Pittsburgh, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, NBC Peacock. Pretty solid little recruiting weekend for Notre Dame. Handful of commits, 3 or 4 2025 targets, and then some notable underclassmen, including a couple quarterbacks we talked about earlier. So that's going to wrap up today's show. Please hit the thumbs up on this video. There's a little button if you're watching on a computer or phone. You guys know the little thumbs up icon. It says something like 20 or whatever it is right now. Just go ahead and hit that thumbs up. Get that number up. Help support our channel here at Blue and Gold. Thank you for the super chats, folks. Thank you for tuning in. And as always, we will catch you next time.